Greetings, everyone. My name's Paul Dosey. I'm a long-term care nurse and community nurse, and wanted to do a video on the use of Ativan in long-term care, particularly dementia care. And the reason I'm doing this video, actually I've been wanting to do it for about 3 weeks or so. I had an incident at a long-term care facility that I thought was a perfect example of why I believe, for the most part, Ativan and other anti-anxiety medications in long-term care, particularly dementia care, is all but useless. And so I want to explain myself. You might think that's a strong statement, but I want to share with you this incident that I just think is a perfect example of why I'm so against it. The use of Ativan in dementia care as a first line treatment of anxiety and behaviors is not anywhere close to best practice. Okay? And again, I'll get to this situation that took place, and as a perfect example. So I was covering for a nurse in a dementia community, and there was a particular lady that is not a good situation in dementia care, where she's able to ambulate, but very unsteady on her feet. Okay, and so she got up from a nap apparently, and was doing a lot of wandering around, and she was on a mission. And again, you were like, oh my goodness, she was walking around fast, wanting to leave, wanting to go home, and from time to time just stumbling around. So it was a fall waiting to happen. So a couple of aides tried to get her to sit down in her wheelchair several times, and of course, if you're an experienced nurse in these situations, you know that was going nowhere. And so she got up again and wouldn't sit in her wheelchair, and she's able to use a walker also, and of course she wasn't going to use her walker. So there were 2 aides with her in the hallway, and one of them said to me, "Are you going to give her something?" And I'm like what? You mean like Ativan? And she said yes. And I said, well, Ativan is a central nervous system suppressant, so now we're increasing the probability of her falling. So if I give her an Ativan, are you going to stay with her, all right, until it kicks in? And I explained to the aides that the onset on Ativan is about a half an hour. So you going to do, or one of the aides going to do one-on-one until it maybe or maybe not has an effect. So the aide replied, and I assume she applied this way because this would be their protocol. She said, well, if you give her an Ativan, I'm going to lay her down. Okay? So, again, if you lay her down and you don't stay with her, what's going to happen? She's going to try to get up, and we're going to have a fall. So, if you lay her down, that's fine, but are you going to stay with her for a half an hour to see if the Ativan has an effect? Okay? So, I was also told that this particular resident had fallen, and I quote, 3 or 4 times that week. All right? And so the reason that happens is aides are not trained or are unwilling, and facilities don't plan for one-on-one care. All right? That is the primary reason for the amount of falls we have in long-term care. And then interventions, by and large, across the board, nurse aides are just woefully poorly trained in interventions for dementia. What is really needed in long-term care is a higher level of STNA or a good solid certification for dementia. Okay? It's just a wide open frontier to where aides can become experts and really skilled in the area of dementia. So it's so needed. Okay? I would really like to see an actual certification for dementia. Now I know that there's a certified CDP, certified dementia practitioner. I have that certification. It's 12 hours of training. It's okay. It goes over the basics. In long-term care, so much more is needed. Okay? So here's what happened. They kind of stood there and looked at me, and about that time, an agency aide that was there, like hospice or something like that, probably a hospice aide that comes in and does showers, because this was an AL facility, was in an adjacent room and heard what was going on, and she said, well, I'm getting ready to give her a shower. So I said, could you come here and join us for a second? So she came out of the room, and I said, how soon are you giving her a shower? Oh, she's next. Matter of minutes. So I said, can you do me a favor and make the shower as warm as you can and as long as you can? And she said, sure. All right. Shower didn't end up being all that long, by the way, but it was all right. So then I looked at the aides and I said, can one of you stay with her and monitor her until she takes her to the shower? Yeah, they agreed to that. Okay. So, the aide took her, gave her a shower. Like I said, it wasn't all that long. I trust that it was, she did what I told her to do and did a warm shower. So she wheels her out to the common area after she got her all dried up and got her in clean clothes. She dried her, pushed her out in her wheelchair to the common area and parked her in front of the big screen TV. And so I'm going to go ahead and tell you, not even a minute later, this lady was completely knocked out. Okay? So as warm showers often do, you know, they relax you. So, I mean, I hate to be a bearer of bad news, but again, in long-term care, too often, some kind of anti-anxiety medication is the first line of treatment in behavior situations in dementia or anxiety or something like that. Okay, so again, you know, I don't know. In the years that I've been a nurse in long-term care, I've maybe doled out something like Ativan for behaviors a handful of times. Another thing is, and so of course, I mean, so, you know, so much not the case if I listened to aides. There is this epidemic in long-term care of aides telling nurses and requesting that nurses give dementia residents some kind of anti-anxiety medication to solve behaviors. I had a hospice RN come to me and ask me if I could routinely give PRN to a particular resident 40-45 minutes before shower time to make it easier for that aide to give this particular resident a shower. My answer to that was absolutely not. You tell the aide to come to me if there's a problem, and I'll help her. All right? So, another issue we have with giving these kind of medications to dementia residents, onset is about a half an hour to where the drug is going to take effect. All right? In most cases, 15 minutes later, a dementia resident is going to be in some other world. I really wish I had about $5 for every time I told an aide, yeah, I'll go assess her or, you know, the resident and, you know, give them some, you know, maybe give them something. I'll go assess them. I'll see what we got. I'm busy. Give me a little bit. So I'll go looking for the resident 15, 20 minutes later. They're someplace sitting knocked out. Okay? If you don't like how a dementia resident is acting, wait 15 minutes. Okay? This whole thing with Ativan as first line of treatment in behaviors in dementia is just bad nursing times 10. Okay? It just really is. So what we need more is more training on nurse aides for dementia. Also, in dementia, don't tell me this culture is in some dementia communities. Please don't text me or comment under this video and say, yeah, we have that culture in our dementia community. I'm not going to believe you. Okay, sorry. Facilities need the plan for one-on-one care. Temporary one-on-one care. And you bring that up, and facility DON and schedulers will, we can't have an aide on one person all day long. It's never for one day. At most, it's going to be an hour, and if those aides are doing the right thing, the intervention is going to be successful. Okay? And somehow or another, the administrative code, I think it's an administrative code, it's at least a Board of Nursing code of ethics. Whatever happened to the rule of 2 interventions before we give a medication, which, by the way, is what? Go ahead and tell me. Okay? It's chemical restraint. All right? It's a chemical restraint. It's a big deal. Okay? So, I don't know whatever happened to the 2 intervention rule first. Okay? But you know, that went bye-bye. Okay? So, those are my thoughts on the use of Ativan in long-term care, particularly in dementia communities. Feel free to comment under the video in the comment section. Tell me where I'm wrong. All right. Past all of that, have a great day.